if you have an employment gap of a few months, of many months, of a year, a few years, 9 years, any years, I want you to watch this video. And I'm doing something a little different this week. I'm actually just going to share a live that I recorded a few years ago, but it is still so valuable and gold. People still talk about how great it was and still get so much from it. I just have never shared it on the YouTube platform. So I want to make sure that you get access to it too. So watch this training. Let me know what you think. Subscribe to my channel so you never miss a training. And I will see you here next week with another training. Stay tuned for how to handle your employment gap. It's coming up right now. Hello, happy Thursday. Welcome to this feisty how to handle employment gaps career lesson that I'm going to have with you today. It's a rainy day outside, which is, when you have kids at home doing schoolwork, it'd be nice to get outside to get some sillies out. We're just going to go for a rainy walk, I think. But I want to talk about employment gaps because many people have them. I had them, especially if you're a woman, you generally have had them with mat leaves and stuff like that. But we have them for so many reasons, like maybe a long job search, or when you move to Canada for the first time, or hopefully the only time, I guess, when you have to take a leave to take care of a sick parent or an illness you have experienced yourself or another family member. We have gaps. Or you got laid off and you chose to take a year off. Or like one client who quit her job to go travel for a year and had that gap. We have employment gaps. What happens when we're then looking for a job, even if we have gotten hired after that employment gap, this space becomes this big gaping hole in our minds. It seems impossible to overcome. There's no way in hell you're ever going to be able to jump over it. We're really concerned about what employers are going to think about it, what we should do about it. How can we explain it in a way that they'll understand and that they'll see? Will anyone even want to hire me because I have this gaping hole in my career? And we just don't understand how to come to terms with it. And what generally tends to happen is we just know that if we can just convince them that we are an amazing candidate, despite or in spite of this employment gap, that you will do great things for them. We just need to get them to see it. So let me tell you what the problem is here. And I'm going to forewarn you, I'm being very transparent, blunt, because the problem is not the employment gap. The problem is you thinking the employment gap is a problem. Because, I'm going to explain. And okay, the caveat of course, some hiring managers and companies will think it's a problem. Yeah, but most do not. Because like I said at the beginning, many people have had gaps. Just like many people get laid off. It's just a thing that is more normal than you think. And when we think of it as this massive, insurmountable problem, like a Mount Everest of a problem that we have to try and overcome, we do a few things. Number one, we like to pretend it just doesn't exist. Number two, we overcompensate in some way. So maybe we ramble a lot, or maybe a super common one is you begin to almost apologize for it. I'm so sorry about it. And then the death knell of it is we almost think it's hopeless. No one's going to see the value in me because of this gap. And then you don't fully commit to a job search. This is when accountability really becomes a problem, or when you're avoiding the job search, or you're like half-assing it in some way, like using the easy apply. That's really the only thing you're doing. Easy apply, easy apply, easy apply. Oh, there's my daughter. What you're doing in this case, when you are making the employment gap a problem, because in your mind it's this big problem, and you're pretending it doesn't exist, or you're overcompensating, is you are essentially telling the hiring manager, telling HR, telling the recruiter that they need to be concerned about this. Because they may not be. Again, this is normal. They see this all the time. But you're like, no, this is a problem. You need to think this is a problem. And now all of a sudden, they're thinking it's a problem. They are concerned about it. So I'm going to give you an analogy, because I have so many clients that deal with this. And I had one client recently who his way to overcompensate for his gap was to tell the lengthiest of tell me about yourself answers. He would get interviews because, again, his gap was not a problem to the hiring managers and recruiters. But he would go in there thinking, how am I going to explain this away? And he would give 20 to 45-minute answers to tell me about yourself. Anyone in recruitment is like, oh my gosh. long answers. And so when we were talking, I came up with this analogy of the interviewer being like a toddler and your career being a big plate of mac and cheese, and the employment gap being the spinach or the broccoli, whatever you want to choose. And in your mind, you're viewing your gap like the spinach or the broccoli. And the rest of your career is the mac and cheese. So you're like, if only I can get them to see past the spinach and broccoli so they can see the mac and cheese, then they're going to see how amazing I am for this job. So then we do a few different things. We try and maybe shove it in, you can't have the mac and cheese until you as quickly as possible, let's get this in your thing. 1 second. Abby, you're going to have to wait until I'm done, okay? I need a password. I know, but I'm on my phone. Okay? Sorry about that. What was I saying? Oh, you're shoving it down their throat. Let's just get this done as quickly as possible, and then you can eat the mac and cheese. Number two, the other thing that we sometimes do is we hide. Maybe if I hide the vegetables in the mac and cheese, they won't even really know. They won't even know that they're eating it. We're just kind of pretending that they don't exist. Or we're it's hopeless. They're not going to eat it. There's just no point. We're just going to give up altogether. So here's how I actually want you to view your mac and cheese. I want you to stop viewing it like the spinach or broccoli. I want you to view it as the mac and cheese. It is just as great as the rest of the stuff about you. It's just as great as the rest of your career. It's just a part of your package, of what you bring to the table. When we think of it like that, we're no longer pretending. We're no longer overcompensating. We're no longer apologizing that you have this gap. It is just a part of who you are. Now, how we get to that is you can ask yourself some questions. Why am I so glad that I have this break? How does this gap make me a great candidate? How can I talk about this gap in a way that shows all of this? Shows why you're glad, shows how you're great. And why is this the best thing about my career? Now, whenever I am talking about this with my clients, I can tell by their body language and their facial expressions, then they're like, you are a lunatic. My gap is special and unique in its horrible ways, and this is just not going to apply. Yeah, these questions are designed not to be easy. They are designed to push you, to expand you. to break your brain a little bit. There is no ease when we think employment gaps are this Mount Everest of a problem. We are pulling down an entire mountain. That is not an easy thing to do. It is a worthwhile thing to do. Like, you can tell, like, I'm pretty passionate about this stuff. Like, I'm talking very intensely, because when it is this big insurmountable problem, we can't expect any sort of band-aid easy solution to truly solve it. Because when the goal is you showing up in a conversation, even in your resume, in a networking interview, all of the things that we do in a job search, when you fully believe that the gap is the mac and cheese, like the rest of you in your career, everything becomes so much easier. Everything starts to fall into place. You're no longer trapped in this like super lengthy job search. You don't end up settling for a shitty job with a shitty pay. When you realize just how amazing this gap actually makes you, when you believe it, like fully believe it, that's when you are able to get a career you love. You're not settling. When you are making what you should be making. And I'm going to tie this back to my client I talked about with the 20 to 45 minute. He's cut it down to 5 minutes because he did the work. It took him a week of doing the work. And it was hard, but he's like so excited about it now. Like, he truly believes that his career is now like a trifecta. And the employment gap is just like the pudding or the cherry on top. I'm not supposed to say sayings because I can't say them. But like, it is such an integral part of what makes him such a qualified candidate. And that's why he's in like final consideration for a job that's going to pay him way more than he thought he was going to have to make. He was willing to, when we first started working together, make almost nothing, because he thought no one's going to want me. And they have never brought up the gap. That's the funniest thing. They don't care. They think he's overqualified. That's why they're willing to pay him so much. Like, when we fully understand how incredible that gap is, it opens up so many doors. That's why I talk so intensely. It's why I talk very preachy and soapboxy and ranty about it. Because I just want you to realize it's not the problem. You thinking it's a problem is a problem. So the questions you're going to ask yourself, just to recap: why am I so glad I've had this break? Why does this gap make me a great candidate? How can I talk about this in a way that shows all that? And why am I the best candidate? Or why is this the best thing about my career? Okay, guys, let me know if you have any questions. If you are experiencing a gap, share away. If you're like, I don't like you right now, Sarah, share that too. You're like, I don't believe this to be true, share that too. Let's talk about it. Let's get past it so that you can get in a career you love, not just settling for any old job. Okay, until next time, next Thursday, it'll be a lighter conversation. I'll see you then. Bye, guys. If this training resonated with you, then join the Career You Love Academy. It's my group coaching monthly membership program that takes unhappy workers who are unfulfilled, exhausted, and dreading their days to finding work they love, where they're finally making more money, more of an impact, while having the time and energy to truly enjoy and love their life. You can join us by going to www.sarahcurto.ca/CYLA. Now that's a Sarah without an H, so it's www.saracurto.ca/CYLA. See you in there.